Adele lay on the tattered couch daydreaming about birthday cake and ice cream while the stench of death overwhelmed her senses. Clenching her eyes shut, she tried to imagine the party she would have had if the EB virus had not destroyed everything. A moan from the other room drew her back to the present. She slowly stood while taking a shallow breath of stale air and moved toward the soft sound with dread. That is a part of the new book we have coming out, The Uprising. I thought you might enjoy a sneak peek of that, but it also goes along with the video today. How to get readers to quickly connect with your main character. This video is based on a question from one of my viewers. Her name is Angela, great name by the way, and she wanted to know, how do you do this? How do you get people to invest emotionally very quickly with your main character? And that is a really good question. Well, the first thing you want to do is introduce your character right up front at the very beginning. Introduce your main character and then introduce what they want, what their needs are, what their desires are, what is their internal conflict. Give us information about the inside of your character. What is your character trying to get? What do they want? In the beginning of this book, The Uprising, I introduce one of the main characters, and she's having an emotional time thinking about this birthday party that she was really looking forward to, but now she doesn't get to have it. And that is something that a lot of people can relate to. We can go instantly know, okay, we know what it is to have a birthday party. We know what it is to really want to have a birthday party. And oh no, she didn't get that. And it helps the reader emotionally invest in your character right up front, really quickly. Another thing you can do is introduce one of your character's flaws or a weakness, because those are things that your reader can relate to. And really, what you want is relatability. You want the reader to relate with your character. You want the reader to put themselves in the shoes of your main character and experience the story with your character. The thing to keep in mind here is, why do people read books? Why do we watch movies? Well, reading books and watching movies are an escape from reality. It's a way to experience something without actually doing it yourself. And it is a way to live vicariously through someone else. That's the reason people read books and the reason people watch movies. And so you want to keep that in mind. People want to experience something that they wish they could do. They want to be in the shoes of your character. So keep that in mind. It is not the plot of the story that allows the reader to emotionally invest or to connect with your main character right up front. It is the character themselves, the issues within and around the character, the backstory, the world that you've built, the plot. Those are things that the character drives. That they stay for the character, and then the plot is what takes them along for the ride. That's the carriage or the vehicle that your character travels in. And one mistake that a lot of writers make is giving a lot of backstory and background and building your world before you introduce the character. You don't want to do that. You don't want to start with your world building, even though it's really tempting to do that. Let me give all the backstory. Let me talk about how we got here. But what you want to do is save that and weave it into the story, and instead introduce your main character. Help the reader become invested in the character by giving us something to root for. Why does this matter? Why does it matter who this character is? Because one of the other things you hear in writing classes and people talking about writing is that you want to plunge your character into terrible trouble. If you plunge your character into terrible trouble and you have not given any context for why anybody should care about this character, then all it is a tragedy or terrible trouble, but people are not invested in it. So you want to introduce the character right up front. Give us a reason to care about this character. Give us something to root for. Give us something to emotionally connect with. and then plunge your character into terrible trouble, present different things in their environment or whatever the conflict is. You want to have that pretty early in the story, but after you've introduced your character. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any future videos. The more that your reader sees themselves in the situation and in the character's shoes, the more emotionally invested they are with that character, the more they will care about your story and the higher the chance that they will stick to your story and read it to the end. Because there are a lot of books, there's a lot of movies, there's a lot of entertainment out there, and people don't always finish what they start. And in order to get people to get to the end, the more invested they are with your character, the more they see themselves in the shoes of that character, the more they will finish the book and see it through to the end. You want to tell us what is at stake. What is at stake for your main character? Because what is at stake is what tells us why it matters. It tells us this is why I want to find out, because I know what the stakes are. I know that if that character doesn't get to the top of that mountain, they're going to fall to their death and it's going to be grisly and ugly. So we really want them to reach the top of that mountain. That's what's at stake. That's a very simplistic example, but it really clearly tell your reader what's at stake. Why does it matter? And if you really want your reader to emotionally connect with your main character right up front, then there's a couple things you also have to keep in mind is your writing craft. That's why it is so important for every writer to constantly be growing in their craft of writing, constantly be reading books about writing, constantly take classes about writing, join a writer's group so that you can grow in the writing craft. And so one of those issues is show don't tell. You hear a lot about show don't tell. Most people that talk about writing eventually talk about show don't tell because it's such an important part of writing. I have a video that I made about show don't tell, so make sure I'll put that in the description, the link, so you can check that out because it's such an important thing to really grasp and it's so hard for a lot of people. And so basically, if you are telling too much information, whenever you have a story and you step out of the story to tell the reader what's happening, to tell the reader what someone thinks or what someone feels, what that does is it emotionally disconnects the reader from the character and from the story. They emotionally disconnect and you have a higher chance of losing people. So what you want to do is go through your manuscript and circle every time you tell the reader what's happening and see if you can change that to show the reader. Don't tell me that your character is angry. Show me that your character is angry by the facial expressions, by the words that your character says, by their body language, by how they interact with the world around them. Show me that they're angry. Don't tell me. Because, when you talk to people in real life, they don't tell you everything that's going on. You ask someone, how are you doing? And a lot of times people go, I'm fine. Well, a lot of times we have to read through the lines. We have to look at their facial expression, their body language. Sometimes it's the tears that well up in their eye. And we know they are not okay. But you want to do that in your book. You want to show me that your character is not okay instead of telling me they're not okay. You also need to consider editing. Editing is a great big hairy beast that is just in the world of publishing. It can be really daunting. You've written this book and now you got to get it edited or you got to do self-editing and it can be hard. But I highly recommend that you get your manuscript professionally edited. In case you can't afford professional editing, because I know that not everybody can afford to pay for that, but you can also take steps to do self-editing. You can, I have a video that I made about how to self-edit your work to make it the best it can possibly be. I'll put a link in the descriptions, but I would encourage you to learn as much as you can about self-editing. You can also use other people's input to help you catch all the editing mistakes. You can get beta readers and ask them to give you feedback on if they see a misspelled word. You want to be careful with that because not everybody knows what they're talking about. They could tell you to put a comma somewhere and it may not need that comma. So you want to make sure that you're getting feedback from other people who know what they're doing, but you want to make sure that your editing does not get in the way of the reader's experience. You can do all this work. You can write this excellent prose that sucks the reader in, and they're super emotionally connected with your character. But if there's a lot of editing errors, that will disconnect the reader from your character. Now, I've read a lot of books, and I've read a lot of mainstream published books and found errors, because there are always errors. It's a lot of words, and mistakes do slip through, but you want to make sure that you have as little as possible so that the reading experience is as smooth as possible for your reader.